I'm a 34-year-old male office worker named Charles. Although I work for a big company, my responsibilities are quite straightforward. This is because Mike, my supervisor, believes I'm incompetent and never assigns me meaningful work. So, like a handyman, I wind myself performing basic jobs like photocopying and making coffee. These kinds of tasks, I believe, are no longer performed by anyone. If someone needs copies, they make them themselves. If they want coffee, they go to the break room. However, Mike and the others treat me like a gopher, forcing me to perform a variety of strange tasks. But because these are such small duties, I complete them fast and become bored. I've always wanted to be given more difficult and rewarding assignments. I take great satisfaction in my diligence, but I lack assertiveness, so I never confront Mike or the others. I have known this since I was a young child. From elementary school through high school, a classmate named Nick would regularly make fun of me. Nick laughed at me all the time and dubbed me a gloomy guy. To be honest, if I had to pick between being happy and depressed, I would definitely choose the latter. I didn't have any friends because I read books and wrote stories during my breaks instead of hanging out with the other students. Nick would comment on my drawings or writing, saying things like, "This stinks. You're a boy, but you're sketching pictures. You're incredibly eerie." Why would you say that, by the way? It's not strange at all, in my opinion. Indeed, it's peculiar. You're the only male in the 5th grade who draws in the classroom, even though all the other boys favor baseball or soccer. Look, everybody. Charles is creating odd images. Cease. Please return it to me. Try not to be too angry and take it back. Here. This was not the first time Nick had harassed me in elementary school. The worst part was that we ended up attending the same middle and high schools, despite the fact that he was quite unpleasant to be around. Our class in high school chose to perform a play for the cultural festival. Nick put me forward for the main role in an attempt to tease me. It really astonished me because I detested being the odd one out. Charles should play the lead role of Romeo. What? I believe Charles will perform brilliantly since he has excellent acting abilities. I have known him since we were in elementary school, so I am fully acquainted with him. Charles ought to play Romeo as a result. Wait, just wait a minute. Everyone agreed, in spite of my objections, and I grudgingly became Romeo and Juliet. The Juliet actress, in tears, said, "I wish I could have performed with a more handsome guy." I was shocked to hear that. I realized that I wasn't very attractive. I believed my face appearance was ordinary, but I felt bad for my parents. The show went well, and we were clapped for, even if the girls seemed unhappy. But I actually wanted to vanish because I detested being the focus of attention. I stayed home and laid up in bed, while everyone else celebrated by going to a BBQ restaurant. These events haven't made me any less afraid. I figured I would just keep doing boring work since I couldn't stand up to those in positions of authority. A woman from a regional office stopped by our headquarters one day. Elizabeth was going to be my new supervisor, and her name was Elizabeth. She was around 5'3", but her high heels gave the impression that she was slightly taller. She's also a beauty, with fair skin and a well-defined nose. I had pondered what I would do if my direct employer proved to be a difficult person, but Elizabeth was very kind and patient with me. "Charles, could you help me with this document preparation?" "Me? Prepare the document?" "Yes, I intended to ask someone else, but they're all too busy and declined. Don't get the wrong impression. It's not that you seemed liberated." "No, I'll take care of it. Please make use of me if I might be of assistance." "Great, then I'm counting on you." Elizabeth assigned me a job. After working on menial jobs for so long, I was happy to have a meaningful career at last. I gave the document preparation my whole attention. I was able to produce a document that was well organized and simple to read because of my hard work. This is done, Elizabeth. Is this how it should be? Oh, I'm so grateful. It looks fantastic. When everything is so neatly arranged, it's pleasant and simple to grasp. Charles, you're really skilled at document preparation, aren't you? Well, okay, that's right. Well, I enjoy working in this field. I'll ask for your help again, then. Yes, of course. Elizabeth complimented me on the way I prepared the document, so I was happy all day. But when Mike called me in and gave me another boring chore, it made me feel bad. In the document room, printed material was to be bound. I questioned why he was unable to perform such a basic task on his own. It was also a big chore to sort the files, which weighed 3 boxes. My back began to pain, and by the time I was done, I was exhausted. They shouldn't have allowed it pile up this much in the first place, I couldn't help but think. I turned to see Elizabeth hard at work at my desk. Her perfume may have been the source of the lovely smell emanating from her. It dawned on me that Elizabeth was pretty much my type, or, to put it another way, she had grown on me. Elizabeth projected an air of intelligence, having studied abroad in the United States and graduated from a prominent city university. It makes sense why so many of her male coworkers targeted her. They most likely desired a gorgeous and intelligent woman similar to her as a girlfriend. Elizabeth was 30 years old, yet she was already a division chief. She was a clever, sophisticated, and gorgeous woman whom no one could ignore. Male coworkers would swarm to invite her to lunch during breaks, but she would smile and graciously deny them all. After that, she would eat a sandwich while sitting by herself at her desk. I was kind of happy about the similarity and felt a sense of solidarity because I also liked eating deli lunches at my desk. The cafeteria is one of those busy places that I detest going to alone. One day, a female coworker laughed at me and said, "Look, there's a loner," when I went to the cafeteria by myself. I haven't returned since. The lineups at the well-known outdoor lunch area make it difficult to eat there, and I would have to eat quickly to return on time. Deli lunches were more than plenty for me because I didn't want to rush my meal. Although Elizabeth showed kindness to her fellow female coworkers, some perceived her as aloof due to her status as an elite. It seemed more like jealousy to me than anything. There was a barrier because she was well-educated, pretty, and had a nice body. Several of the female coworkers were married or had kids. "You wouldn't understand because you're single," they would say to her. I had sympathy for Elizabeth. I wish they would simply leave her alone, but I understand she may have reasons for being single. It was none of their concern when middle-aged ladies said things like, "You better get married soon, or you won't be able to have kids." Hearing such remarks from their peers would not be desired by anyone. I believed that even as a woman, I couldn't stand it. But Elizabeth never lost her temper. Instead, she dismissed it with a joke. "Could you accompany me to a business meeting tomorrow?" Elizabeth asked me one day. "Me?" I questioned. "I do want you to get knowledge. We intend to work with a business to develop food items for individuals suffering from a certain illness." Really, wow. Okay, I'll leave. However, I'm not sure if I can be of any assistance. After all, I'm just a rookie office worker. Avoid speaking about oneself in such a way. Charles, you're working really hard, aren't you? Position and education are irrelevant. You will eventually be rewarded if you persevere. Yes, you are correct. I'll try my hardest. Please bring me along so we may study. So the following day, we went to the business meeting. A corporation works in the medical industry, while B Corporation, our organization, focuses in food items. Elizabeth said we were creating food products for patients suffering from a particular condition. I had reviewed the papers she had sent me in advance and was considering the project we would be working on. Since the focus of the article was on patients with skin conditions, I gave patients with epidermolysis bullosa some thought. Nutrient-packed cookies. I recommended. Yes, I have heard that these individuals frequently struggle to consume enough nutrients, so I reasoned that nutrient-dense cookies might be helpful. However, as you can see, individuals suffering from epidermolysis bullosa may also experience discomfort while eating certain foods, such as cookies, Elizabeth said. Ah, I see. A corporation's David scowled as he heard Elizabeth's proposal. The complicated skin disorder, known as epidermolysis bullosa, causes the skin to become brittle and prone to blistering. Anywhere on the body, even the inside of the mouth, can experience it. Patients experience difficulty eating and oral intake in mild to severe cases. To exist, we must eat. However, eating becomes difficult. But David was worried that the nutrient-rich cookies might be too tough and cause oral pain. Yes, cookies are crunchy, I thought to myself. We tried selling beverages before, but they didn't sell well because they tasted bad, David continued. Are you serious? I understand. The drink that a corporation had was thick and tasteless. It felt, to put it frankly, undrinking. Although people, especially youngsters, felt nauseated from the beverage's thick, disagreeable texture and taste, it was nonetheless drinkable. What should we do? I pondered. Finding something that is both pleasant and nourishing for everyone is difficult. I take it you're a food company. Is there anything simpler that you could make to eat or drink? Our company is a medical manufacturer, so you should be better at this, right? David inquired. Yeah, well, I had some feedback, and cookies seemed like a sensible option, Elizabeth answered. Are you serious? This is not going away. We need your assistance because we are having problems. The patients won't benefit from this. I apologize. Let me reconsider. However, the patients have a tasting session scheduled for next month. We really cannot wait any longer, Elizabeth remarked, obviously in a hurry. At that point, I offered a suggestion. How about chocolate or marshmallows? I inquired. What? David looked interested. Imagine a chocolate that melts in your tongue, as opposed to a hard, crunchy version. Perhaps something with a ganache-like texture. Additionally, marshmallows can be nutrient-rich in addition to being soft and melting in your tongue. It sounds more enjoyable to kids even than these sample cookies. Yes, it's a good idea to market it as a snack that is easy to eat while still providing nutrition, rather than just as a dietary supplement, David said. This disease comes in different forms, some of which are more harmful to the mouth and esophagus, leading to blisters and erosions. Thus, the melting texture ought to be highlighted. As for your company's beverage, I went on, it's a bit difficult to say, but it was quite thick and reminded me of barium. Exactly. I felt it was similar to barium, David answered. It also made me think of the nourishing beverage my father had to have while he was in the hospital due to cancer. Unfortunately, the flavor was poor due to the amalgamation of ingredients. I considered making pudding or jelly, but those foods don't keep well. So I reasoned that candy that melted in your mouth would be preferable. How do you feel? That does indeed make sense. Although pudding is easily consumed, its shelf life is limited. Therefore, we aim to make a lot of it, David stated. Next, how about some chocolate and marshmallows? It will be ideal for Valentine's Day because it is winter. Yes, that is accurate. Kindly carry out that action. Charles, could you email us the information? Yes, please expect a quote from me shortly. I'll get back to you after I have confirmation from my supervisor. Elizabeth gave me a serious look. She was undoubtedly perplexed as to why I, an inexperienced employee in her perspective, would advise something of that nature. I informed her about the 4 primary forms of epidermolysis bullosa and the several approaches to therapy while driving back to the office. Elizabeth asked me questions and nodded, jotting down notes. Charles, you have a lot of talent, don't you? I don't think of you as an incompetent employee, despite what you claimed. Maybe you are an extremely knowledgeable person. Aha. No way. That's not true at all. You have to be a true elite, don't you? You have a ton of credentials and likely attended a more esteemed university than I did. Really? Charles, who are you? Tell me the truth, please. Elizabeth had serious eyes. When I realized there was no way to keep it a secret any longer, I made the decision to come clean. I'm a college graduate, at least that's true, I replied. Are you serious? I agree, but which university, may I ask? I assumed you were merely inquiring out of interest, Elizabeth answered. ABC Medical University. What? I completed my medical school education. In actuality, I am qualified as a lawyer and have a medical license. Are you from the medical school, I wonder? You were a doctor then? No, I passed the national medical examination, but didn't become a doctor. An attorney as well. Have you attended law school? It's not conceivable for Charles to have that kind of background. That's the reality, though. Actually, I passed the preliminary exam to become qualified as a lawyer. The path of preliminary examination. Elizabeth expressed shock. I've heard it's more difficult than passing the test after graduating from law school. Why did you claim that you were merely an inept worker? You're a remarkable individual with obscure academic training and qualifications. Well, okay. All I was good at was studying. For that, my peers would constantly make fun of me. I was told it was unsettling, but I also wrote novels and made pictures. You're a brilliant man. Similar like a contemporary Leonardo da Vinci. Incredible, Charles. I appreciate your assistance previously. I was in a panic, not knowing how to reply to David. Many thanks for it. I'm not that good, sorry. Although I hadn't disclosed my educational history to the employer, I hadn't lied on my job application either. It would be inaccurate to say that. On my resume, I had accurately stated my university. That being said, only HR and upper management at the sizable B Corporation were aware of my credentials and educational background. It's likely that Mike and other colleagues mistook me for another graduate student. Considering that medical school lasts 6 years, they thought I was a graduate student. You spent years in school and you are still useless. Mike would always yell at me. At that point, I made the decision to pretend to be an unskilled graduate. I chose to pretend that I had never attended any graduate school and that I was a hopeless person because rumors were circulating that I had completed a doctorate program at some institution. I appeared to be unable for a reason. Because of the persecution I endured from my classmate Nick, I started to distrust other people. I went to medical school, put a lot of study time in, and desired to become a doctor since the one thing I enjoyed doing was studying. But in my 6th year, something terrible happened when I was receiving practical instruction. I was caring for a little child who died from a rare skin illness. She died from an infection related to a skin issue. Because skin problems can lead to infections, it's important to take care of them. However, delicate skin is susceptible to infection even with close attention. I wish there were no such illnesses in the world. I also came to the realization that not everyone can be saved by doctors. I opted not to become a doctor after taking the national exam, even though my parents had paid for my schooling. I chose to become a lawyer because I wanted to see if there was any other way I could help others. Naturally, I didn't have the time or money to go to law school, so I decided to start with the legal bar preliminary exam. To be eligible for the bar exam, I had to pass the preliminary test. To be honest, I believe it's more difficult than passing the bar exam after law school, but I managed to pass and subsequently finish my legal education, earning the right to practice law. But then there was another catastrophe. My mentor endured terrible suffering at the hands of a resentful client. My mentor eventually passed away. I chose to practice law in order to serve people, but the idea of experiencing such resentment was intolerable. Thus, I decided to take a conventional office job instead. I was frequently asked during interviews why I wanted to be a regular employee despite having graduated from medical school and being qualified in both medicine and law. However, all I wanted was a quiet existence, so I answered in a neutral, conventional manner. I got here in this manner. I was excited about my work at first, but I gave up after I was dubbed overeager for my age and a nuisance. Unlike me, who spent years in medical school and legal training, the majority of the new grads were from four-year colleges. Simply because I was older, I was treated like a worthless person, but I stopped caring. Yes, I wanted something more satisfying because the work I was allocated wasn't particularly engaging. But I detested being in challenging circumstances. I simply didn't want to assume any accountability. However, this occasion was distinct. Elizabeth needed my assistance since she was in trouble. I simply considered what I could do for her, as she had been focusing on me lately. Elizabeth's eyes filled with sorrow when I told her my background. When I realized she was crying for me, I felt a little thrilled. "You're a really nice person, Charles. Maybe you were too nice, which prevented you from pursuing a career in medicine or law. However, I don't think that's a reason for shame. It simply indicates that your heart is pure." "Ah, do you believe that? I see now that I should email David. I'll get to the estimate quickly. May I also get the paperwork ready? In an hour or so, I believe I can finish it." "Are you serious? After only 1 hour? You really are incredible. I'm astonished. It's not really that significant. Okay, I'll let you handle it." I completed the estimate and the corresponding paperwork, attaching it to an email. David's employer contacted early the next morning after I sent it to him. His supervisor wanted to place an order after like my suggestion. The corporation offers nutritional supplements in addition to medical supplies and equipment. They were organizing a collaborative development project that would blend our company's confectionery ingredients with their supplement powder. Our marshmallows and chocolates were cheap, but people liked them because they tasted so good. I requested that the texture be changed by the development team so that the marshmallows and chocolate would melt in your tongue. We wanted to make sure that the taste and texture were not compromised by adding a company's supplement powder. Among other places, they intended to sell it under a private brand in the pharmacies owned by the firm. It was my aim that these items would appeal not only to patients with skin conditions, but also to those who wanted to effortlessly ingest nutrients from sweets. We moved quickly to develop the product after receiving the corporation's request. We produced marshmallows and chocolates with a silky texture that melted gently in the tongue. David had nothing but admiration for them after trying them. "This is amazing. I didn't think chocolate could be so silky. It melts in the tongue instantly, although it's not as soft as ganache. Yes, we made it so it wouldn't melt easily in your hand, yet it melts delightfully in your mouth. I'll try the marshmallow. It melts too. Wow. It dissolves like meringue. Yes, we put some effort into melting and fluffing it. How do you feel?" "It's fantastic. It tastes nothing like a traditional nutritional supplement, and I believe that even children who are ill would like eating it. It's sure to be well liked." "Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. Can I place a sizable order for delivery next month?" "We'll do our best." "Thanks to you, Charles, we succeeded. It's not exclusive to me. The programming team made it possible, and Elizabeth, your comments were incredibly useful." "No, my suggestions weren't that significant." "No, they were very helpful. We have been very busy since the successful launch of our new marshmallow and chocolate products. Orders began to flood in, and customers other than the pharmacies contacted us with questions. There were so many orders that we had to raise our production capacity. Yes, but we also need to extend our production lines and locate new suppliers for our materials. Is there a good place to do this?" Each of us began searching for a factory. At the end of the day, we discovered a big one with the help of a company. As a thank you for our relationship, which had considerably benefited them, they showed us around a factory. As soon as the factory started producing, we were successful in making sizable sales. Both the general public and patients responded well to our products, as evidenced by the enormous number of purchases they made. Of course, we were thanked for making a corporation's tasting event a big success. It made me quite delighted because I had never received gratitude like this before. We succeeded. Charles, you're going to make a ton of money this quarter. Thank you so much for that. Yes, everyone's efforts are what made it possible. Elizabeth, thank you as well. No, I didn't do anything worth being thanked for. Yes, you were rather busy. How about we celebrate by going out for drinks? Our president, Aaron, and the company are both thrilled with the event's success. Is that a problem with me? No, I'll come. My heart was racing because I had never gone out for drinks with a woman by myself. When Elizabeth took me to this chick bar, I was apprehensive. It felt a little bit like an adult's retreat. I was unsure about how to pay for the bill because I had never gone to such a fancy location. Elizabeth ordered multiple rounds, suggesting that she was a heavy drinker. By the time I finished my second glass, my heart was pounding. Drinking like this with someone so amazing is something I never would have imagined, almost like going on a date. I confessed rashly after realizing how much I loved her. I had never made a confession before. Elizabeth, I think I like you. I apologize for stating this so quickly. I told her how I really felt, honestly. It was my first ever confession, and it was an incredible moment. She first appeared shocked, but then she grinned broadly. Are you serious? That's fantastic. Charles, I also like you. What? You were unaware of it? I wanted to be with you, therefore I always ate at my desk. I thought you had some reason for not going to the cafeteria. Making a woman say this, isn't it normal to want to be with someone you like all the time? You like me. Yes, I have enjoyed you from the start. You work diligently and sincerely. Your level of education is irrelevant. I've been observing you the entire time. Is that so? Elizabeth and I strolled home together, both of us blushing. Perhaps because we were inebriated, our hands felt warm. That was the moment I realized how delighted I am. I believe that up until now, my life has been dominated by anxieties. My personality prevented me from ever completely engaging in anything, even if I had a brilliant mind. I discovered that academic proficiency does not equate to social utility. However, I would like to give the firm more now, and I can't do that without Elizabeth. The only person in the group who showed me kindness was she. After that, we spent more time together and introduced each other to our friends. We made a lot of memories by going on drives, dining at wonderful places, and even going to the pool in the summer. We were seeing each other, but we didn't tell anyone about it at work. However, word of it spread over time. Elizabeth had begun interacting with the other female staff members at that point. Some coworkers had despised her because they thought she was too smart, but they later expressed regret to her. We then made the decision to meet each other's family one day. I was made to feel very welcome as a new member of Elizabeth's family. Elizabeth was warmly welcomed by my family as well. With the support of our respective families, our relationship became even closer. We ultimately made the decision to wed. I was worried as hell when I proposed, but when I saw Elizabeth's happiness, I knew it was worth taking a week to pick out the engagement ring. I was astounded by Elizabeth's beauty when I saw her in her attire on the wedding day. I thought I was at my happiest when she grinned and said, "Thank you for everything. I love you." We have enjoyed a happy married life ever since. The best thing that ever happened to me was meeting Elizabeth. I wouldn't be who I am now without her. We committed to helping and motivating one another as we navigated life's obstacles together. We have happy days ahead of us. I'm going to give my wife everything I've got from now on.